Right now, we bring in former police commissioner of the NYPD, Bernie Kerik. Good to see you, sir. We appreciate it as always. There seems to be sort of two distinct issues here, and I'm wondering if they're linked. One is this violence and rioting, protesters, counter-protesters that we saw in Kenosha. We've seen it in Portland, in some other cities. Then there is the lawlessness in major American cities. We have some statistics to put up. It's not just Chicago and New York and Los Angeles, but Milwaukee, homicides up 91% year to date. Memphis up 54%. My hometown of St. Louis, 42%. Kansas City up 30%. Detroit up 22%. Are these issues linked?
No, I don't think they're linked. I think the thugs, the real bad guys, they go out and do bad things on a daily basis. They're emboldened by a lot of the behavior of the politicians. They're emboldened by the leadership in a lot of these cities. New York City, shootings are up, murders up, robberies are up. Violent crime overall is up, as it is in Chicago and other places, because the leadership of those cities, they're not putting the resources where they need to be. People are calling for defunding the police in New York City. They took $1 billion out of the budget. They took 600 anti-crime cops, plainclothes cops, out of the streets that primarily focused on gun seizures.
That's New York. Is this happening in some of these other cities that we put up those statistics from?
It's happening in a lot of these cities that are run by Democrats, and I think that's the biggest problem. You know, I come from a time in New York City from 1994 when Giuliani took over to 2002 when he left. We dropped violent crime by 65% and murder by 70%. In the black community, almost an 80% reduction in murder. It can be done, but you need the right leaders in place to do that.
What we're seeing another interesting trend. This comes from Andrew Davis out at our brain room, who found some interesting statistics as it relates to retirements of police officers in Chicago. 59 officers in August, 51 in September, double the average number of retirees each month. There were 335 police retirements through the end of July, compared with 475 for all of 2019 and 339 for all of 2018. In other words, we've already had the same number so far this year through July that happened in all of 2018. Is that because they've all gotten tired of the Chicago winners, or because they don't feel supported by Kim Foxx and others?
You know what, Leland, that's a good question, and it's not only happening in Chicago. The same exact thing is happening in New York and a number of other cities like them, where they don't feel supported by the leadership. They don't feel indemnified by the city. They're not going to put their lives and their families on the line and go out there and do a job when they're villainized by the leadership. And that's what you see as a result. Nobody wants to stay on the job as soon as you get your time. And I hear this in New York all the time. I've heard it from cops in Chicago. I've heard it from cops in Portland and Seattle. Same exact thing.
When you say Democratic leadership, is it because the police don't feel supported, or they feel like they're going to get charged with a crime if they do their job, or if there's a shooting, or the crime-fighting tactics aren't the ones that work? How do you link the politics of the mayor to the crime statistics?
You know what? Here's what happens. The mayor is sort of the commander-in-chief of the city, right? They have to support the men and women that work for them. They've got to give them the resources they need to do the job. You can't ask them to go out and do a job without giving them resources. If they don't give them the resources, and then when there's a questionable incident, they throw them immediately under the bus without giving them the benefit of the doubt, well, that creates a big problem for the police department and the cops that work under their command.
Yeah, in Portland, at least, which for obvious reasons we've been talking a lot about, and they have that press conference at 3 o'clock today, the mayor, Ted Wheeler, is also the police commissioner. So there is a direct link there. Bernie Kerik, former commissioner, we appreciate your time, sir, as always. Thank you.
Leland, excellent job yesterday with Matt Whitaker. Great questions. Great questions yesterday.
Thank you. We appreciated him being here, and you watching. Find something else to do sometimes on Saturday afternoons. It'll be good for you. Get out and play some golf. Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks.